Got a treat for you. It is top of hour number 2. We're joined by Dan Miller, voice of the Detroit Lions, and of course, Fox 2 sports director. Dan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Hey,
Feels like a big one here, Dan. It counts for 2 in my book with a division game. Can they make it 2 in a row in Lambeau? A lot of fun the way last year ended. Just take me back to last year real quick. Just your feeling when that game ended, getting that win in Green Bay.
Well, I think you got to go back almost to when it started, and they were showing that Seattle and the Rams game on the big screen inside Lambeau Field, and you just saw the Lions' playoff hopes slipping away as some of those bad calls were raining down on the Rams and in favor of Seattle. And then you got to the game, you didn't know what to expect. I mean, it's your playoff hopes were gone. You're playing a team who has everything to play for. Then they just came out and played, and it was just I said it that night on the broadcast. Everybody watching this team, the fan of this team, should be so proud of this team. And it's easy to say that's your job, go do it. But we're all human beings, and when you get thrown for a loop like that, and then go up against the Hall of Fame quarterback to do what they did, I thought was pretty special. And let me throw this in too, Ryan and Braylon. They've now won, going back to last year, 5 out of 6 on the road, including at Green Bay and at Kansas City. This team's kind of figuring some things out away from home, which in this league is not easy to do.
D-Mill is always good to talk to. You're absolutely right. I never even thought about that. They have won 5 of 6 on the road. Hey, you got to have 2-star offensive weapons to win in this league. You got to have a Travis Kelce and a Tyreek Hill. You got to have a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins, and the list goes on. It seems like the Iron Sky is telling me Sam Laporta could be Jared Goff's number 2 weapon.
Yeah, and I think, not to skip over Laporta, but I do think Gibbs is going to get there at some point. I think he's a really special player. I think he's figuring it out and they're figuring it out. But look, Sam just looks really comfortable, and Goff has complete trust in him right now, and he just looks like he's born to do this. I mean, he's not only good catching the ball. I think we saw at Iowa just how good he was after the catch, and we're seeing that here too. So, I mean, I asked Jared this week, I said, how excited should fans be about this guy? And he said, real excited. He's a stud. And I don't see anything that leads me to believe that that's not true. It's just a, tough guy who catches the ball and gets yards after the catch. And beautiful thing is he's on a nice contract for the next several years. So early returns are really exciting.
Hey, Dan, talk to me, too, about this O-line. I think it's a really big thing that not only Decker is potentially coming back, I think likely coming back, but then Sewell goes to that right side. You saw Sewell come up with a couple of penalties on that left side. Just good to get everybody back where they belong, right?
Yeah, and there may come a time where Sue ends up over there, when Taylor's not here anymore, whatever the case is. But that'll involve an off season of getting back to the reps and footwork and all that stuff, and not just being kind of tossed over there. Look, Sewell's is a terrific player, top-notch player in this league, but it seemed like that was a big ask for him, and he didn't seem nearly as comfortable over there as he seemed playing on the right side. So, yeah, look, you were down to your 4th-string tackle last week who was a rookie who they basically drafted to play guard and said maybe if we need him to swing out there, he can every once in a while. So getting Decker back is huge. And if they get Decker and Montgomery back, and Montgomery is, I don't know if either one of them will be 100%. Decker kind of indicated this week he would not be. He'd just be playing in pain. But just getting him back out there, even if he's 85%, is significant because, don't get just lost on talking about Jordan Love. Green Bay's got some guys that can play up front, and they got a defense that'll get after you.
No doubt about it, Dan. And just quickly with this offensive line too, I mean, if Sewell's back there and you're not playing with a 3rd or 4th string tackle, doesn't that make kind of Graham Glasgow a little bit better too? Just playing with a guy that knows, he's going to take care of business on that right side. Vitale probably be out, Glasgow more settled in. And then you got Monty back. This is a game that you feel like the Lions are healthy now with their run game.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're Glasgow and you've got Ragnow on one side and Panay on the other, that's going to feel better than Ragnow and a guy who's getting his first real taste of NFL action.
Getting his
So,
teeth
yeah, I
kicked
mean, I
in.
think,
Yeah.
anytime you got these guys play as a unit. But the cool thing about that room, guys, is they want all the smoke. They want to be the face of this team. They want this game on their shoulders. And, you know, when they throw Sorsdahl in there, they don't let the expectations go down. And it's just it's a heck of a group that they've obviously put a lot of assets into with draft picks and free agency and dollars and things like that. So, look, it's, you know, what did Ben Johnson say? He said that's his binky when he talked about that offensive line, you know, like a baby. And it's, if he gets that thing closer to being back together, I know he'll feel a lot better. Jared will feel a lot better. And this entire team, I think, feels better when those guys lead the way out onto the field.
Hey, Dan, this is a very random question. I was watching USC this past weekend. I was watching their secondary play, and they just miss a ton of tackles in the open space. They can't tackle a soul. That's probably the Achilles heel of their secondary. And this got me thinking about the Lions. They're a short tackling team. They don't miss tackles. I mean, C.J. Gardner-Johnson led them in week 1. Last week's Brian Branch, Tracy Walker, 6 tackles. They're a short-handed tackle. You don't necessarily see that a lot in the NFL where every level tackles short-handedly. Talk about, is that a focus of Aaron Glenn's?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I think they have a certain type that they look for at that position, and you have guys, you know, in Jerry Jacobs and Cam Sutton and Brian Branch and CJ when he was in there. Tracy will come up and stick you.
Yeah.
Kirby loves to hit people. I just think you have a group of guys back there. It's part of their makeup that's who they are. That's what they want to do, and it's important, Braylon, to your point, because in this league, you know, offensive coordinators stay up all night trying to get their guys one-on-one with your guys outside, and you have to win that battle. You got to make that play.
Yep.
And there was a couple of times in that game last week where, you know, there's somebody one-on-one outside with Robinson or somebody one-on-one outside with, you know, Drake London or Pitts or whoever it is. You got to make that, or Algier, you got to make that play. If you don't make that play, it goes
Extra
from 2 or 3 yards to 8 to 10 yards, and that's a big thing.
Agreed.
Dan, I wanted to ask you about the Defensive Player of the Week in the NFC. Aiden Hutchinson had his best game of the year last week against Atlanta. He goes up against a banged-up offensive line. No David Bakhtiari probably either for the Packers. What do you expect out of Hutchinson this week?
Well, it's what we said against Seattle, too, and not just about Aiden. We thought they were banged up. So, look, just like with the Lions last week when they put Sorsdahl in there, these guys are going to line up an offensive line that can play, and you're going to have to go out there and beat them. So, but look, I think, and I've said this probably to you guys and anybody else that's asked, Aiden has just looked great from training camp on and did in the offseason too. I think he looks bigger, more confident, faster, stronger, everything. He's relentless in his work ethic. He wants to be great. And I thought he was outstanding in the first game against Kansas City. You know, I didn't think the defensive line played nearly as well in the second game against Seattle. And then as a unit, they were terrific in that game. And, look, there were guys that were getting plays in that game against Atlanta because of what Aiden was doing. Because Aiden sometimes will force the quarterback to somebody else. He won't get any credit for it, but sometimes he's the reason that it happened. But when you get Aiden playing like that, and here's the other key. When Aleem McNeil plays the way that Aleem McNeil played in that game, and he's a factor, and you get that big push up the middle, that's a problem for offenses. And the Lions haven't had enough of that, but Aleem showed up in this game, and I hope that sets the standard for what he wants, what he puts out there from here on out.
Dan, what's your take on this Packer offense with Jordan Love? And they might get Aaron Jones back. They might get Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs has done a good job. Jaden Reed has done a good job. This isn't the Atlanta offense. This is a little bit of a better offense. Last week, the Lions, they did what they had to do because I don't think Atlanta was going to challenge them offensively.
No, and I think, you know, we were still figuring out what Ritter was. I mean, that was his seventh start in his career, so he's going to get better. But he looked like a guy who wasn't ready for that last week. I think that, look, Green Bay has a quarterback that hasn't played a lot, but they've got a lot of guys around him. And they're going to turn around and hand the ball to Jones. They're going to want to run the football. It's going to start with that. The Lions are going to have to prove they can stop it. And then you named it. They got excellent guys at wideout. Dobbs is terrific. Jaden Reed looks outstanding.
Yeah, he does.
And Christian Watson's a really, really good player as well, who's just going to be getting back into it if he plays. So, look, this is going to be a huge test because they're going to try to make it easy on Love and not ask too much of him. And I think that's the key is, can the Lions put a little pressure on him to force him to make a mistake? I thought in watching that game last week, he's completing 53% of his passes. He's not that accurate right now. He'll give you a chance to make some plays. Lions have to be ready for those opportunities.
Hey, Dan, last thing for you. Talk about, putting pressure on Jordan Love. What about this Lions rush defense? I saw they're giving up 72 yards a game on average. That's fifth best in the NFL. Last year, they gave up more than double that, 146.5 yards a game, 29th in the NFL. Man, you want to talk about an improved unit. Allowing half the rushing yards that they allowed from a season ago. That's one way to win some games too, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's where every defense starts. I mean, Ryan, you've been doing this forever. Braylon, you lived it. Maz, you've been doing this forever. You ask any defensive coach, any player, the week before a game, what are the keys? First thing is always stop the run. Never anything else. It's stop the run. Because if a team can run on you, they can exert their will on you. And last year, it kind of leaves your defense helpless. Now, they were better towards the end of the year in not allowing as many rush yards, but a lot of that damage was done, and the Carolina game was obviously just abysmal. But it was absolutely a focus during the offseason because it had to be. And so far, did a good job against Pacheco, did a good job against Walker, did a good job against both those backs against Atlanta, and they will be tested again right away this week against Green Bay. But, yeah, it's better, and that's been a huge part of anything good that's happened to them and will be if they can keep it up. Just a big boost to that offense and to this team if they can do that.
Hey, Dan, I know a lot of Lion fans are going to be driving to Green Bay. I think a lot of them already left. The crack man's on his way down there, too. Is this a trip that you enjoy going to? I know you're not going to New York City. You're not going to eat at the best restaurants and all, but tell us a little bit about Green Bay. I've been there once. I loved it, but I know it's not a cosmopolitan stop. What do you take on it?
No, but it's a good stop. It's a really cool place. The people are really nice. There's a lot of great bars and restaurants, and we got all our places we go. It's a great Italian place. It's a great steakhouse there. I mean, Green Bay is a fun place, and when you walk into that stadium, you feel it. There is history in that stadium,
yes,
and you respect their fans because they're awesome, and it's. You drive into the stadium at 8:30, 9 a.m., and they are already lining the streets, packed. Doesn't matter what the temperature is. They're out there tailgating. It's a great trip. I had a lot of really, really bad trips to Green Bay. But, the Lions have kind of come around and won a couple of games there, so that obviously makes it a little bit better. But, look, I love all three of our trips within our division. Minnesota's a great city, great people, great downtown. Chicago speaks for itself.
Phenomenal. And
Green Bay, look, don't let anybody tell you Green Bay's not a fun place to go. It is, and the stadium's special. And look, for all my time here in Detroit, it's either been Favre or it's been Rodgers. And when you go there, you better pack a lunch because these guys are really good, and there's no difference now.
Hey, Dan, you're absolutely correct. I practiced in my rookie season. I practiced my touchdown dance for the first time I got in the end zone. All training camp, all the first week, scored second week in Green Bay in Lambeau, 80-yard touchdown. I got in the end zone and was just so caught in Green Bay, I forgot what the hell I've been practicing. It's the worst celebration ever because when I looked up, there's so much going on. You're absolutely right. Lambeau is definitely one of those mythical event venues.
Hey, Dan, thanks, my man. Appreciate it.
Have a safe trip.
Guys, appreciate it. Thank you.